My name is Jeff Cooper. I'm the Executive Director here at the Center for Medical Simulation. I want to thank all of you for coming here to celebrate our 21st anniversary with us. We started calling this a birthday. Those who saw the early invitation, and then we realized anybody can have a birthday. You just have to live long enough. An anniversary, you have to actually do some serious work, and that's what we've been doing. But as you can tell, we're not just really serious. We like to have fun, and we wanted to make this a learning experience for you. So how many people got to do some salsa? Anybody get some salsa dancers? Anybody do some juggling? A little juggling? Anybody get to see the movie? How many people got to saw? If it weren't for you, I'd be sued. If you didn't get to see the movie, it's in the movie theater, and it's just absolutely awesome. It's a really great movie. I'll mention a little more later. And then, did you get your picture with the fortune teller? With that, great. So if you didn't get to learn to juggle, the reason I like the juggling idea is it's something that's really simple if somebody teaches you the basic trick. And I know Jenny, the juggler, has a more metaphorical, she's got a deeper concept. Mine's just learning how to do it. Hers is really much deeper about the whole concept of learning. But the thing you need to know is you don't throw it straight up, you scoop. So if you learn to scoop like this, and if you just practice with one ball at a time till you can scoop really well, and then you do it with two balls, okay? Then you practice that for a while. Then you can do it like this, okay? And then, so again, it's an example of something that if you have a good coach and they teach you a good methodology, you can learn how to do it, but you have to do deliberate practice. You really have to practice a lot, which I don't do a lot, as you can tell. I haven't done it for a while. And the other thing is you have to be willing to fail. And I think Jenny teaches that. You have to get used to bending down a lot if you learn to juggle. And it's like so many things in healthcare, to learn how to do them, you have to have a good coach and a mentor. You have to have deliberate practice. But the only place you can really learn how to fail is in places like here, is in simulation. And so that's what the message was, if you didn't get it. The idea of the salsa, it's only because my wife Karma Kitai is here. We've been doing tango and haven't done salsa, but we wanted you to have these kinds of experiences. You thought this was a party celebrating our 21st anniversary, but this is really about all of you, because CMS wouldn't be here without all the kinds of people in this room, and actually thousands around the world, clinicians who have taken our courses, the people who really do healthcare at the sharp end. We're just the enablers, helping people to learn to get better, helping to make healthcare safer, instructors from all over the world who have been through our various instructor programs. And then there are others of you here who have supported us in various ways that I'll mention as we go along. So the presentation is really all about you guys and various ways we want to thank you, and through our history of the different people who have helped us along the way. So that's what this will be about. And again, it is being live streamed, so whoever's out there watching, thanks for tuning in. And we'll have this on our website at some time after this show for those who want to watch this craziness again. So first, I'd like to invite the president and treasurer of CMS, Dr. Paul Hickey, to say a few words. Paul is the chairman, in addition to being his most important job, the president and treasurer of the Center for Medical Simulation. He is the chair of anesthesia and a really important guy at the Boston Children's Hospital. Paul has just been an incredible leader of the board, done spectacular things throughout the years to make CMS work, and happy to have him come up and say a few words. Paul.
Thank you. Let me add my welcoming to all of you for coming and helping us celebrate the occasion. I had the privilege of getting involved in simulation in '92 when the first simulation courses were done here at Harvard. And we incorporated the center in 1994 as a separate nonprofit foundation, and it's been able to support itself for the ensuing 21 years. And this lovely facility here at the Navy Yard is evidence of its ability to sustain itself and to move forward. It's been an incredible honor and learning experience for me to be involved on both sides, both as a as a member of the Hair Club. I not only am the president, but I use the services here. I have to undergo my simulation training every 2 years to be qualified for our CRICO discounts for malpractice insurance. So I get to see how the sausage is made, and I get to eat the sausage too. So I've been blessed with doing this. But for those of you who haven't been part of the history, you should realize that over the past 21 years, the Center for Medical Simulation has been able to get simulation training deeply immersed in the Harvard teaching hospitals at all levels, for attending physicians, for chiefs, for faculty, for trainees, for medical students, for nurses, for technicians. And so CMS has had a major impact in moving patient safety forward here in the Harvard system. And if you have to go to a Harvard hospital for a procedure, you can be sure that your anesthesiologist has been trained here and stressed in a simulated environment and stressed to the point of failure, and has learned how to work as a team member and how to seriously look at their own practice. So CMS locally in Boston has had an incredible role in getting the simulation training for physicians to be a part of the culture in each of the hospitals and at Harvard Medical School for teaching medical students. Given the resistance, if I may say so, to change among the medical profession, that's no small accomplishment. But more than that, CMS has become a world leader in how one does simulation, how one trains people in teaching simulation and debriefing simulation events, so that government agencies from Spain, from Australia, from the Hong Kong Academy of Medicine have come to CMS to get help and get CMS's expertise to bring simulation training to their medical healthcare communities in those countries. So CMS has had a major impact here in Boston, and not just at the Harvard teaching hospitals, because many of the other institutions send their people to us for training, but it's had a worldwide impact in making simulation training in medicine be as deeply rooted in the culture as flight simulation training is in the aviation industry. We haven't gotten there yet. Commercial pilots spend a lot of time doing simulation training so that they can deal with any particular emergency that comes up or unusual weather condition or whatever. Physicians do less than 1% of their time. So we have a long way to go. But CMS and the wonderful people working here have made a huge stride forward in getting this to become part of the culture, particularly here in Boston and increasingly around the world. So my congratulations to the staff, to Jeff for his incredible leadership, and it's been a privilege to be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. So there are a couple of people who would have liked to have been here and made some comments, and they couldn't get here, and they actually did some video greetings. I'm going to show one. Before I do that, I wanted to mention, I also wanted to thank everybody, the various sponsors, people who put messages in the program. If you didn't get to look at the program, please do. Many of you did that, and several companies who are here have supported us in the program and supported us over the year. Laerdal, CAE, EMS, Beeline. I think the Gomar people are here too. Folks are here? Yes. So again, thanks to all of you, because you make simulation possible too. We can't do this if we don't have partners and all of the companies in the world who make really good technologies for simulation. So I'd like to show you a short video that my good buddy David Gaba, Dave actually taught me how to juggle. But that's not why he's here today. So let's play. He made this little video. He's giving a lecture in Washington, so he couldn't be here today.
Hi, I'm David Gaba. I'm the Associate Dean for Immersive and Simulation-Based Learning at Stanford, here from our Immersive Learning Center. I'd like to extend my congratulations to CMS on its 21st birthday. I understand that Jeff Cooper will be telling you a bit of the story of how CMS evolved out of the early work of simulation here at Stanford, brought to Boston in the very early 1990s. I guess that makes me somewhat the father of simulation, and we were heavily involved in training the first generation of simulation instructors in Boston. It's fitting, Jeff was my mentor in patient safety, and I got to be his mentor and that of many other people in Boston in simulation. I've been around the world. I've met many people who were trained at CMS, people who were trained by people trained at CMS, people trained by others in the first generation around the world, and now I have children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren in simulation, and it's really a wonderful thing to see this milestone of CMS's 21st anniversary, knowing the thousands of people that have been trained at CMS, the quality of that training. I, of course, know many of the people involved in teaching at CMS, and it's really a wonderful thing for me to see. And who would have thought 20 some odd years ago that there would be a whole industry of simulation and institutions like CMS and the Institute where people are working full-time at doing this kind of training, training others to do this kind of training. We didn't really dream back in the old days that this would happen, and it's just wonderful to see that it has. So enjoy your celebration, and again, my congratulations.
He is the Associate Dean for Immersive and Simulation Learning at Stanford, among other things. So next I'd like to introduce Dr. Lawrence Cohn, who's on our advisory committee. Larry is a renowned cardiac surgeon. He's the former chair of cardiac surgery at the Brigham and Women's Hospital and the Hubbard Professor of Surgery at Harvard Medical School. He's been an incredible supporter of simulation and has made great contributions in helping that move forward in cardiac surgery in particular. So, Larry, you can say a few words.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. Happy birthday. You know, when you're 21, it means you're all grown up. That's really good. And he's not much more than 21. But I do want to say congratulations to everybody here. Dan Raymer, one of my tennis partners. Jeff Cooper, you've been an outstanding leader in this group for not only locally here, but also worldwide. And we all should be very proud, and you should be very proud of that as well. I think the Simulation Center is one of the most important features of Harvard Medical School now, because this has assumed an extremely important role in the training of all kinds of physicians, surgeons, obstetricians, everybody. This has become a very important activity. So you're to be congratulated for bringing this forth. The thing that when I got on the advisory board, it was very interesting to me that this really started with mostly with anesthesia, who I always thought were just, you know, perfect guys all the time, never made a mistake. But this was interesting because to me, surgical specialties are the ones that could benefit by this the most because of training, of learning. We have a Strata Center over at the Brigham now where our residents, our cardiac surgical residents, every Wednesday this summer, we had a session over there doing things that they need to know, and when they get into the OR, it's very, very natural and very good for them. In 2007, I had the privilege of being the president of the Thoracic Surgical Foundation for Research and Education, and this is a combined group sponsored by all of the thoracic and cardiac groups in the United States. And I said to the folks, I said, you know, the simulation thing that I'd heard about CMS and Jeff, and I said, this is really an exciting thing, and I think we ought to do something. And it turns out we did a terrific program at another building, but it was the same group. And it was the first simulation effort in cardiothoracic surgery in the entire United States. And from that time on, programs all over the country have been just, in cardiothoracic surgery, have been just going crazy with this. And I personally believe, don't quote me, but I personally believe that in a few years, some kind of simulation exercises, simulation efforts may be part of the board certification. It could possibly be that. And it all due to your efforts here, Jeff. So again, congratulations. This has been a great effort for all of us, and especially for cardiothoracic surgeons, and we thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, Larry. We've got another short video from Amitai Ziv, who was the director and founder of Messer, which is the Israeli simulation program that serves the entire country. They are really one of the biggest centers in the world. They do incredibly innovative work. Amitai, we met Amitai back in around 94, 95 when he was just getting started. He spent some time with us, and he was one of the people who got MedSim going, one of the companies that no longer exists. He's a former Air Force pilot, but he's been a world leader in simulation, and I talked to him. He couldn't be here, so he wanted to say a few words. It's a little bit long, but he's a sweetheart of a guy and has some nice things to say.
Dear Jeff, Dan, and the whole amazing CMS team over there. 21 years, that's a big wow on our end. You've always been the most welcoming team on earth. Extremely open, extremely nice to newcomers to the field. Always, the mentors for all of us. You have applied on your own center and on your own people at the center this concept of debriefing, reflective group that always asks questions, always challenges itself first. And as those who are teaching us the art of debriefing and the art of reflection, you have applied this very art on your own team all over those 21 years. And I know well that it's part of your DNA, part of your genes, and that you will keep doing it in the many, many more 21 years that you'll have in your future and in our future. You're a hub of knowledge, you're a hub of expertise, you're a hub of so much innovation and, in fact, the mastery of the field of simulation. And in that respect, you're an inspiration, certainly for me. You're an inspiration for all of us professionals in the field of medical simulation and patient safety. In fact, the fact that you have anchored your doing in patient safety and not only in education is an extremely important aspect of your doing, and all of us who follow your footsteps, I think, owe you so much for this very good positioning of simulation-based education as a patient safety engine. So, in summary, I think it's time to bless you all with a huge Mazel Tov from the Holy Land. We feel very, very fortunate to be considered your friends and colleagues, and I am looking forward to many, many more years of working together, collaborating, and celebrating many more achievements that our field will go through, and that you will be leading us all into these great moments. So here from Israel, the whole Messer team, myself, and all of us who are grateful for a better and safer healthcare system, thank you so much, and enjoy the celebration.
Well, thanks to Amitai. He's as you can tell, a really wonderful guy. So I'd like to do a little bit of history about how all this happened, because people ask all the time. Some of the board members were asking this morning, and let me tell you a little bit about the beginning. And first starts with a personal story. I came to the Massachusetts General Hospital in what was then called the Department of Anesthesia in 1972. And at the end of the first year, I was a biomedical engineer. I didn't really quite know what I was doing there. I was in the bioengineering group, working with my colleague now of over 42 years, Ron Neubauer. And at the end of the first year, I went to a workshop that one of the senior faculty was running, teaching residents how to check out an anesthesia machine. And to do that, they created a leak in the machine where that circle is at the top. This is a machine from a 40-year-old machine. They created a big leak and had the residents come up, and we're teaching them how to check the machine to see if they would find the leak. And at the end of the seminar, the workshop, he said to me, we take the machine downstairs and put it in front of the elevator. And I said, well, it's got a big leak in it. He said, don't worry about it. The technician who did it will fix it. So since I was a young guy, it's a hierarchy. He was a senior guy. I took the machine, put it down in front of the elevator. Next day, Friday in the afternoon, I was getting ready for my first vacation at the end of my first year. I get a phone call that says, were you involved in a workshop with an anesthesia machine? I said, well, yeah. And what had happened was that machine actually got back into the operating room before it was fixed. The technician had gone off at 3 o'clock. And because there was no sign on it, this got used on a patient. And that patient didn't do well. I think they never told me exactly what happened, but I was on the phone from Atlantic City, if you will, 41 years ago, trying to find out. And this really, it was years later that I really understood the messages of this event. One was about speaking up, and that I didn't know how to do that. And that's why, one of the reasons it's such an important part of what we do here at CMS, because this is such a huge issue for everybody in healthcare. This was my introduction and my lesson about that. But also, when you simulate things like this was simulation, if you will, but simulation can be dangerous if it's not done well and not done carefully. So this was one of my introductions to patient safety. There were others. I did some studies in the 70s. Some of these were studies that were funded, by the way, in part by the Fannie E. Ripple Foundation, which I'll mention again because they funded work over the years here. Again, working with my colleague Ron Neubauer, and there's a whole long history about how it all happened, but we did these first studies of medical error in anesthesia, really early work, and this helped, was the basis for starting the Anesthesia Patient Safety Foundation, the APSF, with my friend and colleague who passed away a couple of years ago, G. Pierce. And the first thing I wanted to do was start a research program because there was no funding for patient safety. It's one of the reasons I couldn't continue to do research. So we started a research program. Of course, I didn't figure out if I was running the program, I couldn't give myself money, but that was okay. We gave other people money, and in 86, 87, we gave out the first grants, and 3 of the first 6 grants were about simulation. We didn't know what that was. It was brand new, and one of those grants went to David Gaba, who I didn't know at the time. This is the younger David Gaba. This is David Gaba playing Harley, one of the patients. And so he got one of these grants along with 2 other groups, and I bumped into him in Las Vegas at an anesthesia meeting, and he invited me to come out and see what they were doing. So I went out and watched one of his simulations. The mannequin was about half of Resusci Annie, and saw him do a course for residents. And I remember flying back thinking, wow, if we could take something this cool and transplant it from Stanford to Harvard, then that would be a test of whether it really meant something. So I went to the anesthesia chiefs. There were then 5 academic departments before the BI and the deaconess merged, and said, geez, would you send a group out? How about if we take a group out? This is really cool. And it showed how foresighted these chiefs were to take this chance to try something new because they didn't really know what it was about. So we got 2 clinicians, anesthesiologists from each of the 5 hospitals. The 11 of us went out, and Dave put on a program for us for a day and a half and put people through this simulation. Faculty, which he wasn't used to doing. They were really training residents then. And people thought this was terrific. They went back, they told their department chairs, and they said, well, and then I said, well, geez, Dave's having a sabbatical. So how about if we set him up, pay him here to come to Boston? So he came to Boston and spent about 10 weeks here with his, by the way, this is one of the programs at Stanford. That's Mike Dalen, who's now the chair of anesthesia at Bay State, in a power-out scenario. It was an incredible scenario. Again, at Stanford, this was, I think, in 91. And this is 1992 at the old Leahy Clinic, which was next to the deaconess in the lithotripsy room that wasn't used. And that was the simulator in the lower left, a little Apple computer, one of the simulations on top, and a debriefing in the lower right. We put 70 anesthesiologists, residents, and CRNAs through the program. People thought this was terrific. The department said, let's go build a simulation center, and that's what we did. The first one was in the center between the Mass General and all the other Harvard hospitals, so it didn't really belong to everybody. So I found a geographical center that would be about equidistant for everybody. We built it at 116 Huntington, which is right behind the Peru. We had about 2,500 square feet, and many of the people who were involved in that, Dave Feinstein, I think I just saw here. Dave was there from the very beginning. Actually, he's the only person who's still involved in that first group was at Stanford. And Rick Blum, who was also here, was in the early group of getting things started. Jordan Hallis was there from day one of getting the whole thing to work. But we got simulation going there. The residents were coming. After about 10 years, we had to move. We needed more space. So we moved, oh, I forgot. This is the first mannequin off the production line from what was then CAE Link. It's a whole long story how it came around, and now it's CAE, but not the same mannequin. And that mannequin's still around somewhere. I'm still trying to find it. We sent it back to get refurbished. This was the very first mannequin. It was a great mannequin. And then we moved to Cambridge because we needed more space. And the Center for Integration of Medicine and Innovative Technology, CIMIT, was in this space. They're an organization that brings together a lot of technology and medical groups in the Boston area. They graciously built out the space. We grew into that space more and more over the years. It was a wonderful space. Many of you I know were there. And then we had to move out for various reasons about a year and a half ago, needed more space, the rent went up. And a year and a half ago, many of you here, I know were here when we had our open house here opening this center at the Charlestown Navy Yard. So we've been growing slowly in size. We grow at about 10% a year. We never wanted to be a big production house. We like being creative, innovative, and we're not trying to compete with the whole world in cranking out simulation for everybody. We like doing things that are really, really highly leveraged. And some of the highlights of that, of who we are shown in the next few slides. For this basic assumption, which is on the wall of the debriefing room in the back, says a lot about the way we think. That we believe that everyone participating in activities at CMS is intelligent, capable, cares about doing their best, and wants to improve. So we're really about the learners, about being honest with the learners and transparent with the learners, and really caring about helping people get better at what they do. Debriefing is one of our core competencies. There's Dan Raymer, who's probably the world's greatest debriefer, like me, a biomedical engineer. It makes no sense, but that's Dan. Teaching people all around the world, and we, through Jenny Rudolph's work, which she brought from her PhD work, the concepts of how we debrief with good judgment, we think we built a really wonderful portfolio around this concept of teaching people how to talk to each other, because ultimately that's what patient safety is about. It's those relationships and how honest you can be with each other. We started these first anesthesic programs back in, the first program was February 94 actually. We rented our space in October 93. That's why this is our 21st anniversary. And this was, again, founded by the anesthesia departments, the then 4 chairs, Richard Kitts, Ben Cavino, Ed Lowenstein, and Milt Alper, I think, was at Children's at the time, if I'm not mistaken. And they just took a risk. They put their money behind it. The Fannie E. Ripple Foundation in New Jersey, this was not the kind of thing they funded. But they put money behind this to build it out and to buy that first mannequin. Over the years, we've developed lots of innovative clinical programs. This is a labor and delivery program, which has grown over the years. Bob Barbieri, I think, is here, his wife somewhere, and Bob has just been instrumental in moving ahead this labor and delivery concept of getting obstetricians to train. As it was mentioned earlier, CRICO, the captive insurer for the Harvard hospitals, started in 2001 to give a lower premium for anesthesiologists who did this training. A few years later for obstetricians, most recently for surgeons. So CRICO, even though it's an insurance company, it's a patient safety company. And it realized that this simulation is an important lever for patient safety. This is the program actually that Larry was talking about when we did the visioning conference for all the cardiothoracic surgical societies. And you'll notice this tumor down here. This is Dan and Bill Raymer's invention. Dan Raymer and Bill Berry's invention of a bleeding tumor. And Dan's advanced it to now it's even more cool than this. But this was a live session that we did with again in the old place, and it's an example of the OR teamwork training programs that we've developed over the years, starting in 2004 with a program that David Ratner started with us with the minimally invasive surgeons at Mass General. Having full teams trained together, CRICO supports this throughout all of the Harvard-affiliated hospitals. They're all training together, and this came out of this early work that we started in the early part of this century. This is from 1995. Marty Gallagher and John Pulowski, both then at the BI, created this program for Harvard medical students, third-year students. And this became the beginning of the program that Jim Gordon and Nancy Oriel started, and the whole simulation program at the medical school now, that facility there. And Jim, who's in the back, also is the director, the head for simulation at the MGH. This is a really great beginning program. In the lower right's another innovation. Some of you got to play in the operating room. We created this program called Healthcare Adventures. Started out for people who aren't medical folks, people who are leaders and managers and administrators, to give them an experience in taking care of a patient. I see Sue Moss here. She brought her group through this, and I think others have been through it. The idea is to get a patient safety experience, feel what it's like to take care of a patient, and do some teamwork yourself. And we started this over 10 years ago. The Donahue Foundation of Connecticut funded a study where we studied a dozen teams at Mass General. There have been several publications for that. But again, a really neat program that's another step in patient safety. This is the first class of the Institute for Medical Simulation in 2004. Robert Simon has been the the creator of this program. He came to us about a year or two before that, and Robert has just built this incredible international instructor program. There are over 3,000 graduates of this program now all over the world. And Janice is going to mention a little bit more about that in a minute. We've got a couple of affiliates. Our idea is leverage, train other people to do the things that we do and spread it around their communities. This is our affiliate in Spain at the Hospital Virtual Valdecilla in Santander, Spain. This is Ignacio del Moral, Nacho, who's the director of that program, and he wanted to say a few words.
Hello from Spain. I'm so excited to wish the Center for Medical Simulation a happy 21st anniversary. I have had the enormous privilege of working with all the people there since 2004. The unique and creative approach used by CMS has had a dramatic impact on the way we use simulation at Hospital Virtual Valdecilla, and has inspired so many of us in the way we use simulation. Together, we have created wonderful programs using simulation to improve patient safety. One great example of this is the work we have done in Spanish-speaking countries, spreading the principles and values of the Institute for Medical Simulation and having an impact on leaders in the field. I would like to wish CMS and all the people who work there another 21 years of excitement and success.
So Nacho, just an incredible, wonderful guy. He spent a year with us here. He brought his wife and the 7 children all came here and spent a year here. He's built an incredible program. They teach our IMS programs in Spanish in Spain and throughout South America. So it's spread. We have a more recent affiliation with...
Dear Jeff and colleagues at CMS, happy 21st anniversary and greetings from the Hong Kong Academy of Medicine and the Academy's Innovative Learning Center for Medicine. It is magnificent to see the CMS growing from one of the world's first healthcare simulation centers to one of the world's best healthcare simulation centers in 21 years. Your contributions to patient safety and training of healthcare professionals in US and in other parts of the world through your research, instructor training courses, and affiliate programs with different educational institutes are extraordinary. We are fortunate to have the opportunity to collaborate with CMS and be a partner in Asia. Your instructor courses held in Hong Kong have helped us to build the faculty at our simulation center, as well as the Hong Kong medical simulation community at large. I am confident that your continuous expert advice and support to our Academy Simulation Center will help speed up its development, which will be translated to better healthcare, education, and patient safety in Hong Kong. As the British literacy critic John Churton Collins said, "In prosperity, our friends know us. In adversity, we know our friends." I hope the friendship and partnership between our two institutions will continue to grow and flourish with time. Congratulations.
So Dr. Donald Lee is the president of the Academy of Medicine in Hong Kong. He's been a great partner. They've built the simulation center and the building there. It's really been great to work with them, and we're looking to moving more of this work forward through Hong Kong and hopefully through all of China. So more recently, we have an affiliate, the Mater. This is from Mater Hospital and the system, and Donna Bonney and Carolyn Hudson are over here. They're visiting this week from Mater as we start our affiliation. So again, the idea is to spread this by teaching other people how to do it, so they don't necessarily need us. And you might say we keep putting ourselves out of a job, but as an engineer, I was trained by actually Ron Neubauer that that's what we're supposed to do. Put yourself out of a job, because you just got to get things to work for other people, and hopefully the next thing will be there, and you just got to keep innovating and doing more kinds of good things. So we like to have fun. We like to play. In the upper corner there is if you were here at how many people were at the open house? Yeah, at the open house, we had the helium stick. So we played the helium stick. A lot of people played that game. In the other corner there is the improv session that we did. So people remember the improv, and that was with an improv teacher, Diana Giardelli, Diana Giardelli, who was here. So we like to play. We like to do a lot of wild things, and that's some of them. For those of you who got to see if it weren't for you, I'd be sued. This is Justine Cooper, no relationship to me. She spent a year with us as a visiting artist, and did pictures all around the world of mannequins, did a whole book and a website. So you ought to see her movie. The video is actually wonderful, wonderful video. So this CMS is really about the whole CMS team, all the people who work here. Just an absolutely wonderful group of people. It's my privilege to get to work with everybody. I can't name everybody. This slide's actually from a few years ago because it's so hard for us all to get together. So I want to thank everybody who's here from CMS and all the people who have done so much over the years to really make this place what it is. So again, thanks to all of you from the CMS team. So I'd like to so now I've talked to you about the history and the past. I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about what we're doing next. Patient safety isn't where it needs to be. Things are safer, they're better, but there's an awful lot more to do. All of you who work in healthcare know that. Simulation has a bigger role to play. So we're going to continue to innovate by having new clinical programs, in particular developing a feedback program to get people to learn how to give feedback to each other. And in particular, for all the graduates of our instructor programs to develop what we call a community of practice. So to talk about that, I'd like to invite Janice Palaganis, who's the Assistant Director for our Institute for Medical Simulation, to tell you a little bit about the community of practice.
Thanks, Jeff. As one of the first admirers of healthcare simulation, the Institute for Medical Simulation has trained 3,087 healthcare educators to harness the power of simulation to enhance their teaching repertoire. And as Jeff said, we've done this worldwide. So I have the pleasure of reading all of the evaluations after every course. And I read words like transformational. And I read phrases like, I wish I had taken this course earlier. This is going to make me a better educator. We just taught the course last week, and we received a comment that said, everything that I learned in this course is not only going to make me a better clinician, but a better person. Many of our graduates have described their experience with IMS as a launch pad into their simulation careers. And so here's our challenge. For many of our graduates, and many are in this room actually, so for many of you, it's been months. I see a couple people from last week, so for you, it's been a week. But for many others, it's been a year, or years, I should say. And so our struggle is, how do we continue to create launch pads for those people that have already been through our courses? How do we nurture them as the educator that they've become? How do we continue to develop them as the simulationists that they're going to be? And so we figured out a solution to harness this energy that we've been palpating in the field, that we've been palpating within our graduates, that I actually could feel in the room right now, to harness the creativity, to bring us all together into a shared pool of knowledge so that we could deliberately practice. And we are calling this a community of practice. So what this is, it's a virtual campus that essentially houses practice opportunities and activities so that all of us can go there so we can refresh our skills, develop our skills as simulation educators. We could get feedback from each other, get feedback from CMS faculty, get feedback from experts throughout the world. And in the process, we'll be developing and creating an interprofessional hub for healthcare simulation. So what will this virtual campus look like? It's going to look a bit like this. We're going to have some MOOCs and some a hybrid of asynchronous and synchronous activities. We'll have LPGs and podcasts and simulated debriefings. And we're going to do this through a robust use of technology-mediated learning. We already have an LMS system that has great
Hold on a second. What's this about? Asynchronous, hybrid, MOOCs?
Jeff, I only have like one slide left. Do you mind if I just do the last slide? Or?
Hey, Jeff.
Oh, Abby. Hi, Abby. What's up?
Can I check something out with you?
I better introduce you. So this is Abby. I have a personal coach avatar. And so she kind of helps me with presentations and stuff. I asked her to watch the presentation and so she could give me feedback later. I didn't think she was going to jump in right now, but looks like she wants to give me feedback now. So, Abby?
Well, I wanted to talk to you about your feedback to Janice. Would that be okay?
Might be a little embarrassing, but sure.
I heard you say, what's the story with the terms asynchronous, hybrid, and MOOC? Watching Janice's face, I wasn't sure she knew what your concern was. What was on your mind?
Well, this is not an audience of instructional designers, so I didn't think that people would know what those terms meant, and I thought she should spell them out.
Okay, but I don't think she understood that you meant that, since you were asking a guess what I'm thinking question. Why don't you ask her?
Janice, did you understand what I meant?
Jeff, actually, I thought you meant I was putting too much detail in, so that makes more sense about the acronyms.
No,
and
I wanted you to talk about the detail and tell people about the detail of the programs, but I
That makes sense.
So, okay, sorry I wasn't clear about that.
Ah, Jeff, something else.
Yeah?
Well, I wanted to talk about tone of voice and gestures that can seem angry. I noticed that your tone of voice is kind of harsh and you were pointing your finger at Janice.
No.
Can I show you that on the instant replay?
You didn't tell me you were doing the instant replay. Yeah, sure.
LMS system that has great ARS capabilities.
Janice, hold on a second. What's all this about asynchronous, hybrid, MOOC? All right, so I'm still doing the finger pointing. I've been working on that. I don't have that right.
I know what you mean. It's hard to change things like that. I keep working on getting the rest of my body to move. No luck yet. But back to you. I was thinking the pointing and tone of voice might limit how well Janice took your feedback. Your thoughts?
Well, I was a little annoyed, and I thought I was keeping that to myself, and I wasn't letting that come through. I know that if you want to give somebody good feedback, you really should not be annoyed. You got to be curious. I thought I was being curious, but I can see from the video maybe my annoyance came through a little bit.
Okay, that's really normal. It's hard to know how we come across. Do you want to try it again, but this time drop the finger pointing and harsh tone and share your concern more directly?
Okay. I'll try it again. Janice, could you just hold on a minute? I think maybe the audience doesn't understand some of the terms that you're using. I can't keep this finger down here. You think you could explain some of the terminology
Jeff.
so they understand it?
Sure.
Janice, how was that for you?
That was much better, Jeff. I understood what you were trying to tell me to do, so it's great.
All right, well, I apologize for the way I handled that. So, anything else?
I think that's enough for now. I know you're busy right now, so call me tomorrow and we can also go over that conversation with your son that didn't work out so well.
Great.
Okay?
So, So you don't all get to have an Abby. I get my own Abby, and she gets to work with me. You can see it's a lot of work, this deliberate practice to improve your behaviors, and I'm still working on it. These are the kinds of things that we hope to do in the coming years to develop new innovations for simulation and for patient safety. This is one of them. There are a lot of things that need to happen to do that. We've been really fortunate, as I said, for a lot, that so many of you have been helpful for us to support us over the years. Again, if you look out on the donor board, all those names are listed, and I think I mentioned how all the anesthesia departments have been great contributors over the years. There have been many individuals as well and foundations. We still need more of that support. One of our advisory board members, Ann Mullen, is here, and Ann has been really gracious over the past couple of years with financial support, and I asked her to say a couple of words if she would.
So Dr. Hershey and I came to the instructor course in 2004, and we thought we were coming here to learn about running simulation, but actually what ended up happening was it transformed our career. And I hear that word transformation from almost everyone that comes through CMS. So I really feel grateful for everything that I've received here. I am in a situation where I'm able to support programs that I think are valuable, and I can't think of any more valuable program than this. So I really feel like I've received much more than I've given, but I'm happy to be able to give and to support the program. So thank you.
Thank you, Ann. So, so just one more thought before we leave. One more. I mentioned Dr. Richard J. Kitts. I think I mentioned him early on, who was the chairman of the Department of Anesthesia when I got there in 1972. So he was my department chair, and over the years my mentor, and then more and more my colleague, and then friend, and we remain good friends. Again, he couldn't be here tonight, so I know he's watching live. Dick has been an incredible supporter, not just of me, but of CMS through all these years. And so over the past several years, I've been able to donate a bit, and I'm pledging up to $15,000, and tonight I'm pledging another $10,000, and that gets me to get Dick's name on this debriefing room over here, the Richard J. Kitts debriefing room, in honor of his leadership and spirit of innovation and his support of me, their founder, and for CMS from the first moment of its inception. So I want to thank Dick for all that he's done. He's really been an important force in my life, and I'm glad that I'm able to do this. So once again, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight. There's still some time. I hope there's still some food left. I really appreciate all of your being here and all of the things you've done for us. If I forgot to mention somebody's name from all the wonderful people here who have helped us over the years, actually, I just want to remember, because I see Sean Lynch sitting here, and Sean actually has been a great supporter for several years at CMS, so at least I remembered one more. But anyway, thanks to all of you for coming tonight. I hope you had a good time. If you've got those juggling balls, do some deliberate practice. Don't worry if it falls. If you did some salsa, keep trying to do it. And watch the movie before you leave if you can. It's great. So have a wonderful evening. Again, thanks to all of you.